بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
Now, some other possibilities for EHRP neighborship not establishing between the two routers, like we have seen interface, probably the interface might be down or there is a mismatch of AS numbers. Now, again, as I discussed earlier, incorrect network statements. Because sometimes what happens is you do configure EHRP between the two routers. So, and the interface is up, and then the autonomous system name is also same, but still you see the neighborship is not establishing. Then most likely there is some misconfiguration. Maybe, let's say if I take an example, the router 2 and router 3 is not establishing the neighborship. And I verified that the interfaces are up and both are configured in the EHRP 100, the same AS number probably. Then you need to ensure that the network statement is advertised properly. So either the network statement is missing, because if you don't advertise one set of the interface, then maybe it will just, the other side will send a hello, but you don't get any reply because there is no EHRP running on that interface. So maybe the network statement is missing, or if it is configured, maybe it is misconfigured, because sometimes maybe you give some wrong network statements or wrong network ranges while advertising the subnets in EHRP. And there are specific show commands we'll be using, like show IP EHRP interfaces, and then show run, probably to verify the configuration, and show IP protocols are the specific show commands we use for verification. So let's try to see here. So what I did is I inserted some issues between the router 2 and the router 3. And my job is to fix the neighborship between the router 2 and the router 3. So if we check the router 2 is establishing the neighborship with router 1. That's something what we fixed in our earlier videos. Now the router 2 is also expected to form the neighborship with router 3 here. But you can see there is no neighbor relationship between these two. And if you verify the configurations, so I'll start with verifying the configurations. So this is my configuration, and if you try to see, I'm advertising the correct IP and the network ID. This advertisement seems to be okay. And EHRP 100. Now there is one more command you probably prefer to use to verify the advertisements, where I use show IP EHRP interfaces. So you'll see what is the AS number and what are the interfaces which are being advertised. Because sometimes when you see these network statements, you may not be able to figure out whether this particular network range is actually advertising the interfaces or whatever the interfaces you want or not. And probably in my example here, you can see, as per this example, you can see here it is advertising S1 by 0. This interface is advertised, and this interface is advertised. Again, you can see this interface is not advertised. And as per my topology, I'm expecting this 2 dot interface also should be advertised, right? Because that is what connecting between the router 2 and the router 3. So I'm expecting this configuration, and that is missing here. So we'll try to fix that. So how to do that? Router EHRP 100, and then advertise 2.2.2.1, which is the S1 by 1 interface. And if I go ahead and verify now, show IP EHRP interfaces, now you can see S1 by 1 interface is also being advertised in EHRP autonomous system number 100, right? So now what I should see is verifying the neighborship once again. You can see the neighborship is not establishing still. Now why it is not establishing? Because if I verify the interface here, 2.2.2.1, opposite interface is 2.2.2.2. So we do have reachability. Maybe the problem is on the router 3 also, right? So let's try to verify on the router 3 side. So I'll say show IP EHRP interfaces. And here you can see S1 by 0 interface is not advertised. Because as per my topology, I'm expecting this interface also should be advertised, but that is missing. So let's confirm whether that particular interface is advertised or not. So when we say show run section EAGRP, we can verify the configurations, and you can see the network statement is there, but it is misconfigured because as per my topology, so I need to advertise this 2.2.2.2, not 2.2.2.1. That's the problem here. So these things generally happens in the production scenarios as well. You may end up advertising the wrong IP address sometimes. So in my example, you can say this is more like misconfiguration, where it is not supposed to be this address. It is actually supposed to be 2.2.2.2. Okay. Now this is incorrect network statement. So here I inserted two issues. One is on the router 2, where there is no network statement at all. And another issue I inserted here, like I fixed just now, that is on the router 3, where the wrong network statement was there. So now if I verify show IP EAGRP neighbors, you can see the neighbor relationship is up here between router 2 and the router 1. And of course, you can see the routes. Probably troubleshooting the routing tables will probably see in the next coming sections here.